Bismillah. My name is 17 students. Welcome to Pakistan School Muscat e-learning, and we are learning from our book Amazing Science Grade 4 Namal teacher Siddhartha Shah. Welcome to the science class, students. This lesson is about the revision session of unit number 13, the earth, unit number 8, sound, unit number 9, electricity. The parts we already discussed are how vibrations produce sound, both loud and soft. Sound needs a medium to be produced. Sound travels better through solids. Sound travels at different speeds. Musical sounds and noise are produced. And in unit number 9, we know that the structure of an atom, ions, static electricity, electricity conduction. How can we test the presence of a charge, lightning, an electric circuit, importance of a switch, and conductors, insulators. And in unit number 30, we already discussed about the earth spins on its axis once in 24 hours. The sun seems to move. It is not. How day and night are caused. How the change of seasons occurs. What constellations are. The Big Bear is a constellation and hemisphere. So let's get started from unit number 8, sound. Students, we hear many sounds all around us. Chirping of birds, the creaking of a door, the beating of a drum. All things which make a sound have one thing in common, they shake, right? Every sound that we hear is caused by something shaking, vibrating. So what is sound, students? Sound is nothing but a form of energy. It can be produced, make the air shake back and forth very fast. These shaking movements are called vibrations. The sound always comes from the vibrating source. Sound travels in invisible waves. We cannot see sound. We can hear only. Sound can travel through solids, liquids, and gases. We have lots of equipments to producing sound, especially the musical instrument. A sound vibration makes tiny particles of the air bump into each other. When this happens, the particles are first pressed together and then they spread apart or expand again. Each particle passes its energy to the particle next to it. In this way, vibrations are passed from molecule to molecule. We call this movement a sound wave. How sound travels? Students, if we have a question in our mind that why cannot we hear the sound of the explosion takes place on the sun? Students, sound travels at different speeds through different materials. Sound cannot travel through space because there is no air. This is why we cannot hear the sound of explosions that take place on the sun. Sound travels better through solids and liquids than through gases. Sound waves can travel through doors and walls. You can hear the ticking of clock if you hold it between your teeth. You can also hear sounds in the water when you are swimming underwater. If sounds are being made in a room, the vibrations in the air make the walls and doors vibrate. If you hold an empty glass, against the wall or door nearest to the source of the sound and press your ear against the bottom of the glass, the sound will be much clearer. If we are talking about the kinds of sound, we are listening on a daily basis, different kind of sounds. Some are good, some are bad. Some are good, that's named as musical. Some are bad, that are unpleasant, that are noise. Then comes to the reflection of sound, students. Vibration can bounce back if they strike a smooth, hard surface. Sound waves bounce off hard surfaces such as walls, floors, and ceilings. Echo. When sound waves hit a barrier such as cliff, they bounce back. We hear the sound again. This reflected sound is called an echo. In a covered space such as tunnel, the echoes are very loud because the reflected sound cannot escape. Echo detection. Echoes can be used to detect shoals of fish, submarines, or wrecked ships on the seabed. Sound waves are sent down in the sea from an instrument on a ship called an echo sounder. The time taken for the echo to bounce back to the ship can be used to work out the position and shape of the object beneath the ship. Maps of the seabed can also be made in the same way. Echolocation. Students, bats make squeaking sounds and use their ears to pick up the echoes from objects around them. This is called echolocation. It helps bats to find their way in the dark and to catch food such as flying insects. Now we comes to unit number 9, electricity. Students, rubbing materials together produces static electricity. As we all know that everything on earth is made up of atoms. The nucleus of an atom contains protons. Protons have positive charge. Around the nucleus are particles called electrons. Electrons have negative charge. The number of protons and electrons is equal, therefore atoms are neutral. When we rub a plastic ruler with a piece of cloth, the ruler pulls electron from the cloth. This gives it a negative charge. The cloth becomes positively charged because it has lost electrons. Materials that gain electrons have a negative charge. Materials that lose electrons have a positive charge. Electricity which is not moving is called static electricity. It stays in one place. Static electricity is produced by rubbing materials together. Rubbing gives the materials an electric charge. Electrostatic induction. Students, a positively charged object will attract or pull a negatively charged object, but objects having the same charges will repel or push each other. If a charged object is brought close to the neutral object, it will produce an opposite charge. This process is called induction. Clothes made from man-made fibers such as nylon builds up charges very quickly when they are rubbed and can even produce a spark. If we want to test the presence of the charge, we can use a gold leaf electroscope that consists of 2 gold foil leaves attached to a metal ball by a rod. These are enclosed in a glass case. If a charged body is brought close to the neutral metal ball of an electroscope, the gold leaves repel each other because an opposite charge has been induced in them and they have a similar charge. Now it comes to the electrostatic induction in nature, like lightning. Clouds become charged when tiny water droplets or crystal of ice present in the clouds rub against each other. When they become highly charged, a large number of electrons jump from one cloud to another or from a cloud to the earth in the form of a stream. This flow of electrons produces a flash of lightning. Lightning conductors, in order to protect a high building from damage due to lightning, a pointed metallic rod called a lightning conductor is fixed to its highest point. This repels any charges that may be induced in the building from the clouds. Now, what is current electricity? Students, just now we read about the static electricity that is not moving. So, the static means non-moving charge. If we are talking about the current electricity, it means that we are talking about the moving charge. An electric circuit is a pathway along which charged particles can flow. The cell is the source of energy which pushes the charge in the circuit. It is connected to the bulb by wires made of metals. These wires let charge pass along them. There is a complete path from positive end of the cell to the negative end. An electric circuit must have a complete conducting pathway. If there is any gaps, the charge cannot flow. Now we comes to the switch. Student, a switch is a device that is used to turn a current on or off. The switch forms a bridge in the path of the flow of electricity. When you turn the switch on, a small metal piece inside the switch completes the circuit and the current flows along the wires. When you turn the switch off, the metal piece moves away from the wire and the electric current stops flowing. Now we comes to the conductors and insulators. Materials that allow an electric charge to pass along them are called conductors. Metals are good conductors of electricity. In conductors, some electrons are not very tightly held to their atoms. They can move through the material by passing from atom to atom when pushed by an energy source. Materials that do not allow an electric charge to pass along them are called insulators. In insulators, the electrons are all tightly held to the atoms, so they cannot move through the material even when pushed. Plastic, rubber, wood, and PVC are insulators. Electric wires are made of conductors. The handles and bodies of electrical appliances are made of insulators. So now we comes to the unit number 30, the earth. In the chapter, firstly, we learned about our solar system. Students, the sun and its 8 planets make up the solar system. The earth is one of the 8 planets that travel around the sun. It is the 5th largest planet of the solar system. The planets follow oval paths or orbits, so their distance from the sun is always changing. The shape of the earth is not absolutely round. They are geoid. It is geoid in shape. That means it is round but slightly flattened at the top and the bottom. It is surrounded by the blanket of air called the atmosphere, which is made of many gases such as nitrogen, oxygen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, and dust particles. Movement of the earth. Students, we witnessed two movement of the earth. One is on its axis and one is around the sun. When it is moving on its axis, that movement is called rotation. And when there is an orbital movement which is moving around the sun, is called revolution. Rotation thus cause the changes of day and night. It takes 24 hours. An orbital movement causes the orbital movement causes the seasonal changes. The axis of the earth is not straight. It is slightly tilted at an angle of 23.5 to its orbit. As well as turning on its axis, the earth also goes around the sun. It takes almost 365 days to once around the sun. This movement of the earth is called revolution. During its revolution, sometimes north pole is tilted towards the sun and sometimes south pole is tilted towards the sun. The part of the earth which is tilted towards the sun receives more light, so it is warmer. It is summer in that part of the world. The part which is tilted away from the sun receives less light, so it is colder, and it is winter in that part of the world. When both the hemisphere of the earth get almost equal amount of light from the sun, it is either spring or autumn. Constellations. On a clear night, you see thousands of stars in the sky. If you look carefully, you will see that the group of stars seems to make shapes. These shapes are called constellations. Constellations have fixed positions in the sky. In olden days, they helped travelers to find their way. If you know the shape of the constellations and its position in the sky, you can find it easily. The Big Bear. High in the sky in the northern part of the world, it is possible to see constellation called the Big Dipper. It is made up of 7 stars arranged as shown in diagram. The lower 2 stars are called pointer. They are the pointer stars. They always point to a bright star called pole star and north star. You can notice. The north star is always in the northern part of the sky, directly over the North Pole. It is directly over the North Pole. The Big Dipper appears to move around the pole star. Now we comes to land and water on earth. As you know that students, most people live on plains, rivers, valleys and sea coasts as these areas are fertile. Crops, vegetables and fruit trees can be grown there. But few people live in mountains, desert, because it is either too cold or too hot there, not much grows there. The moon. Students, the moon is the Earth's natural satellite. It is about 384,000 kilometers away from the Earth. It has no air and no signs of life. The moon rotates very slowly. It rotates one in the same time as it takes to complete one orbit around the Earth. This means that the same side of the moon is always facing the Earth. The surface of the moon is dry and hard. It's covered with dust. It has large pits called craters. Phases of the moon. Students, the moons revolve around the earth once every lunar month or 29.5 days. When the side of the moon lit by the sun faces the earth, we see full moon. When the moon is on the side of the earth nearest to the sun, we see thin slice of the moon. This is called a new moon. Sometimes we see no moon at all. The sections of the reflecting surfaces of the moon that we see from the earth are called the phases of the moon. What we called? Phases of the moon. What is called the phases of the moon? The sections of the reflecting surfaces of the moon that we see from the earth are called the phases of the moon. That will be all for today, students. Drink plenty of water. It's a winter season. We are not feeling too much thirsty, but definitely it is necessary for us to at least drink 6 to 8 glass of water. Don't throw litters. Don't make your earth dirty. Make it safe and healthy environment for yourself. Clean your site. Stay safe and good luck to you for your assessment, students. Thank you, everyone. Allah Hafiz.